Just wait for a few minutes, guys. We'll be okay. So just let me check whether we are live or not. Okay, I think we are live. So yeah. Okay, and just give me a confirmation if everything is working fine from my end. Okay, yeah. So it seems everything is working fine. And yes. Okay, thank you everyone for the confirmation. And so, okay, Prashant, thank you for the confirmation. So in today's lecture is going to be like the uh, problem solving, which we are going to cover is like for the dream company of many of you, right? And whenever we talk about getting a job in a company, Google comes into our mind, right? So everyone wants to get into Google and everyone wants to get a good package over there, right? So how many of you were like dreaming of getting into Google and like working as a software developer at Google? Can I know about the audience? Like how many of you had a dream of getting into Google? Okay, Gitanshu, obviously everyone. Yes, Deshna, yes, exactly. And Prashant also says yes. Okay. Ankit, I have a dream, but I think it's a bit too hard. Okay, so don't worry. Like, see, if it was very easy to work in such a big organization, then it might not have been the dream of everyone, right? If everything that you dream is easy, then it's never a dream, right? So don't worry. So in today's session, I gave interview but could not get through. So okay, we have Surbi and she already have given an interview at Google. So that's a really great thing. If you are already like selected for an interview call, then that's a good recognition, right? So in today's lecture, we are going to basically cover some Google interview questions and we are going to see how we can solve those questions, right? So before moving on to the problem solving part and before solving the questions, in today's lecture, what I will do, I'll give you an idea about how the interview process at Google takes place and what are the things that you should keep in mind, right? So whenever you are preparing for Google, so these are the points. If you are already aware about those points, no, it will be very easy for you guys, right? So how many of you are excited for today's lecture? Because today's lecture is also being streamed live on YouTube as well. So we have audience from YouTube as well. And the students who are currently uh, attending the class. Okay, so Amitesh is saying that I have an interview on 22nd April. Okay, Amitesh, then I guess this session is going to be of much help for you. Okay, so let's not delay the class because it's already 4:12 and let's start the session. Okay, so let's see what are the things that uh, Google is basically what are the interview pattern and what different kinds of rounds are conducted. So here is the interview pattern of Google, right? So basically, first of all, there will be a telephonic round, I mean telephonic screening, and on that telephonic interview, basically you will be asked questions on DSA. And the pattern which I'm showing you over here is basically for L1 and is basically for L3 and L4. L3 and L4. So basically L3 stands for SD1 and L4 stands for SD2. Okay, so almost they are similar. So the interview pattern is similar for both of them. And what I'm going to cover in today's session is basically what kind of questions and how to basically tackle all those questions. So first of all, there will be 3 to 4 technical rounds, 1 telephonic round, and 3 on-site or online coding round, depending upon how you applied, how you are applying over there. And there will be a third round that is called googliness round. Okay, so I'll give you an idea what is googliness round, right? So let's start. And after knowing about what is the pattern, so there will be feedback of each and every round. The interviewer will give the feedback of how the interview went to their upper authorities so that next interview can be conducted. Okay, so there are 4 to 5 ratings, basically strong higher. Basically, that means that interview round was very good. Then we have higher, then we have leaning higher, then we have leaning no higher, and then we have no higher. Okay, and if you are applying for SD1, that is L3 position, then try to get at least feedback of higher in at least 1 to 2 rounds. Okay, and if you are basically applying for SD2, that is L4, then you should focus on getting at least leaning higher, not below leaning higher. Okay, so this is the feedback that you should be focusing on. So is the feedback part and the interview part, basically what is the pattern, clear to everyone? Just give me confirmation. I will be asking questions and I want confirmation from you guys so that the sessions can be very much interactive. Okay, so let's see. So now let's say as we have Amitesh, who is basically uh, having an interview on 22nd of April. And so basically, let's say there is an upcoming interview of Google. And what are the points that you should keep in mind? Okay. So it's not the case that if you are applying for Google, that does not mean that you have only studied for past 1 month, right? But there are some non-technical things, and non-technical means basically while solving DSA questions, while giving the googliness round, what are the things that you should keep in mind? So I'll be sharing all the points that you should keep in mind while preparing. Okay. So first of all, let's see what are the things that we should cover in the technical round, that is telephone screening and on-site or online coding rounds. Okay, so as we know that based on the, can someone see, yes, you can be eligible for SD1 as well. See, SD1 is basically an opening level position in every company. So you'll be treated as a fresher. Okay. So it depends upon basically how well you give the interview. So yes, definitely you can go over there. But uh, if the if it has been mentioned that only 22 pass out students are expected in this interview or something like that, then that might be difficult. So you should focus on basically getting the idea, getting a referral in such scenarios. Okay, Sumant. So Deshna says, I have one question. Is this session fruitful for someone like me who is into DevOps and have no knowledge about coding? So yes, see, basically, I would say if you start right now, then it's never late, right? Basically, you should have the desire of getting into somewhere. If you are focusing on getting into Google, then whatever things that needs to be covered, then obviously that are the things that strictly needs to be covered. You cannot get rid of these things, right? So it's never late. If you are focusing on getting into Google from a non-tech background, or if you are already into some other field, then you can follow these steps and it is like basically helpful to you. So first of all, we should focus basically that DSA preparation. DSA is very vast, right? Everyone knows that there are many topics included inside DSA. So what I have over here, basically, I have a link that has all the, let me just share it in the chat box. So this is the link of basically what are the SD questions asked over there, like SD sheet for Google. So just everyone open this link, and I'll also open this link on my system as well. So here you can observe, this is an article available on Geeks for Geeks, and here is the list of all the topics that are important. It starts from arrays, then it goes to, then the next topic is strings, linked list, then we have stacks and queue, very important as well. Searching, basically binary search, linear search. Then we have sorting, then we have hash and heap. Then we have tree data structure, then we'll be having graph data structure, and then we will be having dynamic programming. So these are the DSA topics that you should cover while you are preparing for the interview rounds. Okay, I've shared the link in the chat box, and for the audience who are uh, currently on YouTube, let me just share it somehow. So till then, everyone just have a look at this link. So just get an idea what are the topics you already know and what are the topics that you find it difficult. DPN graph is important for Google. Yes, DPN graph is also very important. So if you see, like, let's say, if you talk about the last round, right? Let's say if you have covered the first telephonic round, and then let's say it is your third or let's say second round, right? So you can expect the questions can be from graph, okay? And the difficulty level. If I talk about the difficulty level can be from easy to medium hard. So back then there was a scenario that only the competitive programmers were able to solve the questions that were asked in Google, right? But now the scenario is a little bit different. They are focusing more on how well you know problem solving. Okay. So the next thing is that practice the programming language. Let's say everyone codes in different programming language. Someone might be doing in C++, Python, or Java, right? So practice the concepts of those programming language very nicely. Let's say you are going to give in C++. So we have pointers over there, right? So all the things that comes inside the programming language, memory allocation is very important, right? So it is possible that some of the questions can be asked based on your programming language. Let's say if you are creating, or let's say if you are allocating some memory, or if you're using some pointer, right? So they can ask you questions based on that thing as well. So it's good to basically cover all the topics of your programming language that you are going to use. And object-oriented programming is very important over there. Why is it important? Because the interview that you are giving is for software developer role, and you are going to write down code using object-oriented programming, right? So revise the object-oriented programming concepts very nicely. And the next thing is that some of the students might come with the like, let's say they might not have good communication skill, or they might not feel confident in the interview, right? So what you should do, try to give the mock interviews. So whenever it's the final day of your judgment, let's say on XYZ day, you are going to have the interview. Before that, give the mock interviews. Try to have a mock interview with your friends, right? So that will improve your communication skills, and that will basically boost up your confidence. And all the interview rounds, basically, they will be covered in English only. So it's very important that you should focus on your communication skills as well, right? And the fourth thing is very important, and this is where most of the students will fail. Let's say you are a very good competitive programmer. Let's say you have a good rating of 4 to 5 stars, or let's say you are expert on Code Forces or any other competitive programming platform. But the code quality is the thing that none of you might be practicing right now, right? So basically, if you are focusing on solving questions in competitive programming, what you focus? You focus on solving the question very quickly. You want to give the solution in least amount of time. right? So can I know how many of you are competitive programmers over here? Can I know about the competitive programmers? How many of you are doing competitive programming? Okay, Bharat. Okay, so Mamun is CF specialist. That's really great. Okay, so for the competitive programmers, I would suggest that code quality for you guys might be not up to the mark. And for the DSA solvers, let's say if you are only solving DSA questions, for those people as well, your code quality might not be up to the mark. So from today onwards, try to improve the code quality. And how to improve the code quality and what is included inside code quality. So let me give you an idea. So Amitesh is saying that lead code and hacker rank and sometimes GFG too. Okay, great. Amitesh, not yet, but trying to become one. Okay, Nishant, that's okay. And there is always a debate between competitive programming and DSA. And I would not go into the debate like what you should focus on. Should you go with competitive programming or DSA? Basically, at least once in your lifetime, basically try to give the contest of competitive programming, right? Because there is a very good way of framing the question, because the questions over there are framed in a story manner. And to find out that what algorithm to use over there, it's a little bit trickier sometimes, right? So if you are already a good DSA solver, DSA like programmer, then also try to give some contest of competitive programming. Okay. And regarding about the code quality, try to write down a code that is basically covering all the corner test cases. That is called production ready code. So try to write down a code that is ready for production, because you are applying for a software developer role, right? And that is going to impact millions of life. And a single minor corner test case that might be missing in your code might lead to basically breakdown of your whatever feature you have added, right? So it's very important that you focus on covering all the corner test cases. And as I mentioned that you are applying for software developer, so code quality is must over there. And see, it is the questions they will ask are not very like alien type of questions, right? They are available on many websites. They are available on Geeks4Geeks and other platform as well. But what they are looking for a problem solver who looks at a problem from a software developer point of view, right? The solutions, it is possible that you have already solved that questions, right? But you have to frame your solution in such a manner that might be more understandable by the interviewer, that you have understood the problem statement nicely and you have reached to the solution due to this reason. Okay. What is the difference between competitive programming and DSA? See, competitive programming is a sport. If I talk about a sport, basically you have time constraint over there and you compete with other problem solver and you try to give the solution in least amount of time. And if I talk about DSA, DSA is basically the core concept included inside competitive programming. Okay, I do CP, but it's tough as compared to DS. Yes, Gaurav, it might be a little bit difficult, and the number of topics over there are vast compared to DSA. So, what are the things that you should keep in mind? First of all, name your variables and methods very properly. Don't write down a variable name as a equals to false or something like this, because this does not justify that what this variable is going to be used, right? So it should always describe what information the variable is representing. And for this as well, I have an article over here. I will share with you guys. So you can open this link, and whenever you are feeling to basically improve your code quality, try to go through this article, and there are a few tips and tricks included. So this will help you to write down a code that is very clean and it is very easy for other people to understand, because the code you are writing is not for yourself, right? And it is possible that after few months some other developer might be working on that thing, so that code should be easily understandable. And If I talk about the method name, right? Whenever you create a name, let's say you just write down a function and then you write down the logic. So this is a very bad habit of writing down the name of the method because it does not give you any idea that what this function is going to do, right? So whenever you write down the name of the method, try to basically start the prefix with some verb. So what does it mean by start the name of the method with some verb? So let's say I'm going to write down a method that is going to validate my input. Okay. Let's say the input type is basically an integer variable. That code is going to take only integer, and I want to validate that every time I get integer from the user. So what I will write down the name of that method. So I will write down the name of the method as, let's say, validate input, something like this, and just write down whatever, let's say, variable you have taken over here. And this is what should be an ideal scenario of creating a method that will validate your input. Can you basically understand what this method is going to do by the name? Yes or no? Can I get an idea? Is it easy for you guys to understand what this method is going to do? Right? So that is what they are expecting. Whatever code you write, it should make sense about their functionality, about the information that it is storing. Okay. And now let's say there are people basically who are a very good competitive programmer, and sometimes they are not able to crack the interview. Although they have answered each and every question, although they have solved each and every DSA question. Can we write like is integer? See, there is a way of basically, let me just open that page over here. How to write a clean code. See over here, what are the characteristics of writing down a clean code? See, whenever you create a method, whenever you write down a function, write down in this manner. Write down the verb and then write down the noun. Basically, let's say just an example. Yes, is integer is a good example. You can write down that is integer basically checks whether that variable is an integer or not. Right? Similarly, you can basically, let's say there's a method to get the balance of user, right? So here you can observe the name of the method is get user balance. And the main reason why students are not able to write down clean code is that you have a practice of solving questions on platform, right? And the platform basically write downs the almost all of the code is written, and they basically give you a snippet and you have to just write down your logic inside a function. So those kind of habit basically does not lead to improving your code quality. This needs to be improved by yourself. Okay, so whenever you write down any kind of method on your own, focus on these things. And this is a practice that needs to be done separately. Or let's say whenever you are solving a question on any coding platform, just observe how the driver code is written. Right? From there also you'll get an idea about what are the different ways of writing down the method names and all that thing. Okay. And now, as I mentioned, good programmers also are not able to crack coding interviews of Google, although getting all the questions, although they are able to solve all the questions. This is the reason. The code quality, the way they explain their solution, the way they put their approach in front of the interviewer, right? So what are the consequences if you don't follow this process of code quality and all these things? So it is possible that if you're applying for L4 position, then they might downgrade your position from L4 to L3, or sometimes in some scenario, they might not hire you as well. Okay. See, whenever you go to interview, you focus that I have to give the answer of every DSA question. But that should not be the only goal in your mind. You are applying for a software developer position, right? Whenever you start thinking from a software developer point of view, at that time, this all these things basically will be running in your mind, and you will be focusing on improving these things as well. Okay. So was it clear till now? Can I get a yes or no in the chat box? A quick yes or no in the chat box. Okay. And If you are interested, you can take a screenshot of all these pointers, because these pointers I have researched, and basically based on the experiences of the students, I have researched all these things, what they are expecting, and some of my known person are also in the Google, so they also take interview. So I have basically communicated with them, and I have just researched this information. So if you are interested, and if you want to take a screenshot, then you can take the screenshot of all these things. Okay. Now here comes the googliness round, right? So the name is very like interesting, that what is this round, right? So if I want to just give you an idea what this round is, basically it is a combination of cultural fit and managerial round. They just want to know how well you might fit in a team, and how good you can work as a team member. And basically they will ask you some questions on so-called your behavioral skills. They might ask you some puzzles, right? And let's say if you have listed down some of the projects in your resume, then basically get an idea about what was your role in the project, right? What are the, like, how many team members were there? Like, what was the role of the XYZ team member? So that shows that you are a good team member. You can work in a good, like, basically you are a team, basically a good team player, right? So all these things needs to be kept in mind. And for this as well, if you want to prepare for googliness round, I have an article over here. Let me just share this link as well. Okay, so how to prepare for behavioral rounds. So these are the points. Once you feel ready for the interview, then you can just go through all these things, how to prepare for behavioral rounds. I will not take much time in explaining these things. So here are some of the strategies that you can go through and refer to this article over here. Okay. And these are most of the generalized point. And many times people think that I have cleared all the 4 rounds, and the feedback which I have got till now is very good. So I don't need to focus on googliness round, and they take it very lightly, right? And they don't go with much preparation over there. So don't take this last round very lightly. And we had someone from the audience uh, who is going to have Amitesh. So this point is for you as well. And I wish you best of luck that you crack Google. And yeah, okay. So these are the things that you should keep in mind. I hope entire idea about how the interview at Google, basically how the Google interview is organized. Okay. So any questions regarding this? If not, then we can move forward and start solving some questions on DS and some Google interview questions. Okay, so let's start. So just give me a minute. I will just share the link of the question. And see, whenever you give interview in some good product-based companies, so over there, they try to, the problem might be like, it might seem that the problem is very simple, right? And the solution might also be like, you might have already faced that problem beforehand. But what they are thinking of, they have many things in their mind whenever they put a question. Okay, they want to know different concepts, and generally those whatever questions they will be asking you. Just a minute, I will just open the questions. So whenever basically they ask you a question, the questions will be in such a manner that many concepts will be included in that question. And let's say the interview round, regarding the interview round, how long will be the interview? So the interview will be from around 45 minutes to 1 hour, not more than that. And if I talk about how many questions they can ask, it is possible if the question is of, like, let's say graph or DP, then they can ask a single question to you and they might be expecting the entire approach starting from brute force till the optimized approach. And whenever you go to interview, that should be your way of approaching. And the students, if you have already attended my previous class, I have already suggested every time that start the solution from brute force. Never directly jump to so-called optimal approach, even though you already know the solution. Okay. So whenever you see a question that is already known to you, so that means it's a good luck for you, right? And that's the best opportunity anyone can get. If the question is already done by you previously, then that's the best thing that you can expect in an interview. I'm interviewing for SD3. Any difference in the interview pattern? So regarding the SD3, what I think, SD3 role, you might be basically asked questions apart from DSA. They might ask you questions on system design as well. And for experienced guys like you, so I would suggest that there might be some questions that you might not be aware about. So whenever you have a communication with the HR, no, you can ask the HR, is there any official documentation of what the interviewer can ask me? Some of the companies have an official documentation and there are list of questions and topics listed over there. So you can ask the interviewer that uh, if such kind of article or if such kind of uh, any data is available or not. And for SD3, some system design uh, like round might also be arranged for you. So apart from DSA, system design might be included. Okay, Amitesh. So you can get this thing cleared from the HR. And for the freshers as well. And for the freshers as well, whenever fresher gets a call from the HR, no, first of all, don't panic. Okay. So basically don't like uh, panic and don't basically try to forget something. So basically what I'm trying to say, whenever you get a call from HR, or if you are expecting that I'll get a call in, let's say 10 to 15 days or within a week, the first call. So make a list of all the questions that you are willing to ask. Okay. Like what is the role for which basically I'll be hired? What kind of work the company is doing? How big the company is, right? So make a list of all those questions, and whenever you get a call from HR, just open that list, write down all those questions inside a note in your phone or something like that. And whenever you get a question, open the list and ask those questions. Because for fresher, it is possible that you might panic when you get a call from HR, right? The panic might be due to some fear, and you might get excited as well, right? So keep this in mind. And whenever at the end, whenever the interview gets completed and the interviewer will ask you, do you have any questions? So if you really have question, then do make a list of all the questions right before the interview. So that will help you to clear everything that you have in your mind. Okay. So let's start the problem solving part. A lot of discussion has been done on how to prepare and what should be done. And let's see, if you are applying for Google, how the questions can be asked to you. So I have shared a link of the question, that is Boolean Matrix, a very good question. And if let's say I am taking your Google interview and I might be your interviewer, then how will I expect the answer from you? Or let's say I am sitting in a Google interview, then how will I deliver the solution of it? So try to read the problem statement and just let me know yes or no in the chat box if you have read the problem statement. Okay, Kushagra. Nishant says if we got the question in the interview that we know, show we act like uh, we don't know the solution and approach it with brute force than with full solution. Yes, see, whenever a question is asked to you, don't get excited and don't show your excitement on your face. Or don't just like say, yes, okay, I have understood, and don't basically see, sometimes they will not basically in the interview, they will not give you a concrete problem statement. They will orally dictate the problem statement. And it is possible that they will leave the question halfway. some things might not be cleared from the interviewer, and they do it basically intentionally. They want to know how good you are at basically understanding the problem statement. Whatever is the question, whatever questions you have in your mind regarding the question, before giving any solution, ask all those questions beforehand, after the interviewer has given you the so-called problem set. Okay, so let's see what this question is. Boolean matrix. Given a Boolean matrix of size R cross C with where each cell contains either 0 or 1. Modify it such that if a matrix cell contains I comma j, then all the cells in its ith row and jth column should become 1. So basically it is saying that you will be given a matrix containing 0 comma 1. Will be, and if you have any kind of cell that contains let's say 1, then that particular row and that particular column will be converted entirely into 1. If I talk about the first example, here you have a 1. So this entire row and the specific column will be converted into 1. You can observe this is the output. And let's say this is the, if this is your matrix, then what will be the result? Let's try to see. Question number 1. This is our Boolean matrix. A very interesting question. And just see how the optimization should be done. So if this is my matrix, it contains 1 0 0, 1 0 0, again 1 0 0, and 0 0 and 0.
Can we change this matrix a little bit? Instead of in the first row, instead of 1 at the very first column, can we add the 1 at the very end?
Yeah, so we'll modify the test case just in a minute. So okay, so yes, you were saying 1 over here as well, right?
Yes, and 0 at the beginning.
At the beginning. Okay, yeah. Okay, so let's see what will be the solution of it. It is saying that for any cell we have any 1. So you have to convert the entire row and entire column into a 1. Right? Yes, Surbi, yes.
We can create two separate arrays, one for each row and one for all the rows and row numbers and one for all the column numbers.
Yeah, we'll
And
come to the solution part just in a minute. Okay. Yeah. So here we have 1 over here. So we'll be converting this entire row and entire column into 1, right? So we'll be having 1 in this manner here, here, and here, right? So here we have one more 1. So we'll be converting this entire thing into 1. So we will be having 1, 1, 1, and 1. And similarly, we have 1 over here as well. So it will be converting this entire row and entire column. So 1 over here, and we'll be having 1 0 over here. So this is the output matrix for the given input matrix. Ith row and jth column will be converted entirely into 1 if this is your matrix. Okay. Is the question clear to everyone? Can I get a quick response from everyone? Yes or no in the chat box? Okay. So now we will be starting first of all from the brute force approach. Okay. So what do you think? How should I solve this question? If I want to solve this question in a very basic manner, then how can I solve this question? We can add minus k to zeros, which have turned 1. For old ones, we will check for rows and columns. Okay, okay, Sumant, got your approach? Yes, Surbi, yes.
so we can create two separate arrays, one to store for each row number and one to store for each column number. And once we iterate as booleans, and once we iterate through that array, we will find out whether an element is 1, then corresponding row and column number. For that corresponding row and column, we will update it to true. Once we have done that for the whole of the matrix, then we'll go again and wherever the row is 1, we will update all the column values as one and all the column row values as well.
So basically you're saying that we will be having two separate arrays and this will be containing the row number and column number.
This will be containing true and false for each row number. So this is a row of R rows. Right?
Okay. Okay. Got it. Yes, Surbi, yeah, we can do in that manner. We can take two arrays and so on and so forth. Okay, so deleted the message. Okay. So Amitesh, what do you think? What will be the solution of it? Can you write down a single line approach in your mind, like whatever you have thought in your mind? Sumant, you are correct. We can do in that manner as well. So Surbi gave an idea. Basically, that's a little bit advanced than that. Advanced than basically optimal compared to brute force. So we'll come to that point in just a minute. So let's say if we want to solve it in a brute force manner. So what you can do, you can basically create two separate arrays. Okay. So let's say basically you can have two different matrix. One will be storing the answer and another will be the input matrix. Okay. So let's say I have two different matrices over here. Okay. And let's say we have 1, 0, 0, 1 over here, 0, 0, 0, and 0 and 0. Okay. Now let's say if I want to convert basically what I will be doing. Whenever I will start the iteration over the entire matrix, input matrix. I can see over here I have a 1. So what I will do over here, I will go to the output matrix which I have created over here. And for that particular row and particular column, I will iterate over that entire row and entire column and mark 1 and initialized the entire matrix. Imagine that this entire matrix has been initialized with 0. Okay, then I'll go to the another cell. I will see whether it is a 1 or 0. Then I'll go to the another cell. I will check whether it is 1 or 0. And whenever I reach over here, I can see this is a 1. So what I will do, I'll go to the particular row and I will convert the entire row and entire column into 1 in the output matrix. Right? In this manner, I can fill the output matrix, right? Are you guys getting the approach in the brute force manner? What we can do? Can we do it in place with using new matrix? Without new matrix, I guess you are trying to say. Amitesh. Okay. So this approach, what do you think this approach will be? How much time? Yes, we can do it in place. We'll come to that point. Yeah, without new matrix, we can do it. So what will be the time complexity of this approach? So I'm iterating over this entire matrix. Let's say this is n cross n matrix. Okay. And I have created new n cross n matrix containing all zeros. So what I'm doing for each and every cell, let's say you have 1 over each and every cell. So for every cell, what I'm going to do, I'm going to iterate over n number of rows, basically n elements in every row plus n elements in every column, right? So for n cross n, what kind of work I'm doing? I'm doing 2n of work, right? So what this becomes around n square into 2n, this becomes around 2 to the power n cube. So this becomes my time complexity over here, right? 2 to the power n cube. This is my time complexity. And what about the space complexity? An extra matrix has been used. What is the size of that matrix? N square. So this is my time and space complexity. Kushagar, it will not be n to the power 4 because it will be n plus n for entire row and entire column. Now, is this clear? This time and space complexity, everyone, yes or no? Okay. Now, how to optimize this? Okay. So in the previous classes as well, I have explained that whenever you want to optimize, try to focus on the brute force approach. Try to focus on the brute force and see what optimization can I do and what are the steps that are not at all needed, right? So if you see the brute force approach, no, here if you have a 1, then you are iterating over the entire row and entire column and marking all the cells as 1. right? If you have a 1 over here, let's say over here, if you have a 1, then you will do the same work on that same row which has already been converted into 1, and then you will work on this column. So some additional task you are doing for one that is repeated. For the row that is already affected, you are doing some repeated task. So I have to somehow think of some logic that will help me to reduce this task which is being repeated again and again. Right? So what I can do over here in order to optimize this, let's say this is my matrix. So I want to get rid of the redundant tasks that I am doing, right? So what I will do, let's say I have an array that goes by the name row. And similarly, I have a column that goes by the name column. So what is the requirement of this, basically, let's say row and column array? So Surbi already suggested some like an approach, this approach. So basically, let's say here we have inside this we have 1 0 0 1 0 0 0 0 and 0. So first of all, in the first go, what I will do, I will iterate over the entire matrix and I will mark the particular row and particular column element inside the row and column array. Okay, so these are the indexes 0, 1 and 2. And this is 0, 1 and 2. Okay, and this is my approach number 2. Okay, so what I will do, I will mark the particular row and particular column in the particular row and column array. So I'll start the iteration. I can see 1 present over here. So I'll convert this false into true and convert this false into true. Okay. So I will keep on iterating and I will be getting a 1 over here. So I'll go at this position inside the row array and this position inside the column array and convert this into true. Okay. So after iterating, once I have iterated over the entire matrix, so that will cost me around n into n time, right? Now what I will do, I will again start the iteration over the entire matrix. Okay. So basically I will start the iteration, and whenever I am encountering a new cell, let's say currently I'm standing at this cell, it is already 1. So ignore it. So move forward, I have found this cell that is 0. So check the particular row and particular column number. If you find true anywhere inside the column or row array, just convert it inside, convert this entire thing, entire cell into 1. Then check the other cell, you have a 0 over here. So check the row number, basically inside the row array and inside the column array. If you find true value anywhere, so convert this entire into 1. So similarly do for this, you have 1 over here, so convert this into a 1. Then it is already 1, so ignore it. So now over here, check the corresponding row and column element. So it is true, so I will convert this into 1. So I'll go over here, I'll check the particular row and particular column. It is true over here, so I'll convert this into 1. So check this, go over here and go over here. I can see true present over here, so convert this into 1. And the last one, so for the last one, you can observe it is false over here and it is false for the column as well. And finally, we have the output matrix like this, right? So what amount of work did I do over here? So first, n cross n, iterating over the entire matrix and filling this row and column array, right? And then again n cross n in order to change the values inside this input matrix. So total, I can say 2n cross n, 2n square amount of work I have done. And what about the space complexity utilized over here? What is the space complexity? So we have one more approach, store all ones in queue in terms of I comma j, start removing from queue and traverse in row and column and convert them to 1. Keep a visited array. Yes, Vashist, yes, you can do in that manner. So what do you think will be the time complexity of your approach, Vashist? M plus n, n, yes, exactly. So it is going to be, if I call the row number, column number as n, so it will be around 2n, right? So the time and space complexity comes out to be around order of 2n, right? So now let's say the interviewer will say optimize this further. Okay. So he will not say optimize the time complexity or optimize the space complexity. In some scenarios, he might give you an idea that I want the optimization of the space complexity. So let's say I am that interviewer and I will say that try to optimize the space complexity. Uh, yes, order of 2n equals to order of n. Yes, right, exactly. You can get rid of the constants. Now here comes the interesting part. I want to optimize it further and I want to get rid of the extra row array and column array which I have used. And I want the space complexity to be constant in this case. So what do you think? How can I optimize this? If you have the approach, you can unmute yourself. Okay, Mamoon has a very interesting idea. He says we can consider row 1 and column 1 as the array to reduce the space complexity. Okay, yes, we can do that. Mathematically, we have already gotten rid of it. Which part? Which part? Are you talking about the space complexity? In the BO notation, you don't include the constants. Yes, so you can write it down as order of n. So Mamun, I would like to know about your approach. Like you have given an idea that column 1 and row 1, basically we can use the first row and first column to store the idea about like the particular row and particular column. Instead of the row array and column array, we can use the first row and first column. So how can we utilize it?
I think at first we can traverse the whole matrix, and then we can set one to the I comma j row and column. Except the first row and except the first column, we will use them as our arrays.
Okay.
And then we can traverse again to set them whether they should be set 1 or 0 for the second time traversal. This is how time complexity would be, I guess, 3n square or something like that. But its complexity would be order of 1.
Yes, exactly. Great. Great, Mamun. Great. That's a good approach. Yeah. So the kind of thing that we will be doing over here. So if you observe on the hint in the way which I have presented the row array and the column array, what if somehow if you utilize the first column as the row array and you utilize the first column and basically the first row as the column array, then you don't need this row array and column array, right? So here comes the question. Let's say if I'm changing these values, then what about the input values? So we'll tackle that question in just a minute. But let's see for now, I will be using the first row and first column as my row array and column array. The difference is that I am storing true or false, that is Boolean value over here. So I don't need to basically convert this into true or false. And I can use the notation 0 and 1 in order to denote true or false. So let's take an example. Let's say here we have 1 over here and we have 1 over here, and let's say this is entirely 0. Okay, and this is entirely 0. So what I will do, I will first, for now, I will focus on this much of part of the matrix. Okay, only on this much part. I'll start the iteration. Here I can see 1, so I'll convert this into 1. I'll convert this into 1. Now I will move ahead. I can see 0, so ignore it. I can see 0, ignore it. I can see a 1. So I'll go to that particular uh, row number and I'll convert this into 1. I'll convert this into 1. Okay, so now this is what my matrix is looking like. Okay. Now again I will do the traversal. So I can see a 1 over here. So first traversal was for marking ones in I comma jth. Okay. So first traversal was for marking ones. Now again I am traversing in order to convert the cell to 0. Now here this is 0. So what I will do, I'll check the particular row element and particular column element. I can see anywhere if you find a 1, I will convert this into 1. I will see the next element. I can see 1 over here, so I will convert this into a 1. I'll see the next element, this is already 1. And finally, I have a matrix that is completely converted into answer matrix. So is this much part clear? Can I get a yes or no? Okay. So it is working perfectly fine for this particular quotient, for this particular test case. Now let's say if I change the test case. Okay, so what was the test case again? Let me write down the input test case. So the input test case was 1, 1 over here, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and 0, and we converted into this. Now let's say here, this is my test case number 1. Now let's say if this is my test case number 2. So focus what things we are missing over here. Now this is my test case. Okay, so I will again focus on this much of part. Okay, first traversal for converting. Okay, so here I have a 1, so I will convert this into 1. I'll convert this into 1. So this is 0, ignore it. Here I have 1, so I'll convert this into 1, and this is already 1, and this is 0, so ignore it. Now again, a second traversal is required, right? So let me just change it. So on doing the second traversal, I will convert the zeros into 1. It is already 1. This is 0. So check the row and column. So it is 1. So I'll convert this into a 1. Now this is already 1. This is 0. So check the row and column. I can say this is already 1. So I'll convert this into a 1. And finally, I have this as my matrix. Okay. And what was the input matrix? So the input matrix was this. Now my question is this correct answer? Is this correct answer? So why is this wrong answer? Why, Kaushik, why this is wrong?
Because third column in first row is still 0. It should be 1.
Yes, exactly. So we did not handle the test case in which there was a 1 right from the beginning in the first row or first column. What about the ones that are already present in this much of part, in this part, right? So this is the thing that we need to handle it separately. What about the input ones that are present in 0th row and 0th column? They are also going to change the values, right? Yes, exactly, Kaushik. It is not handled. So I want to know from you guys, what do you think? How can I handle this? Yes, Surbi?
This part would be done at the end of the third loop, where we are done with setting up all the elements, one and column of the other part of the matrix, which we considered first. Now we just have to set whether something has to be set in the first row and the first column. So that
Okay.
will not overlap or affect the other part of the matrix. So that will be done at the end.
So that this thing will be handling at the end, right?
Yeah, in the third loop.
In the third iteration, in that
Yeah.
we will be iterating over the first row and first
In the
column.
first column only.
Yes, exactly. Thank you. Yes. So if 0, 0 is 1, convert all into 1. If 0, 0 is 1, convert all into 1. See, this part, if you handle it right before converting this part of the matrix, sub-matrix, before doing the change in this part of the matrix, you apply the change of 0th row and 0th column, then also it is going to give you a wrong answer, because the answer of this sub-matrix depends upon the values that are present in the first row and first column. So first row and first column containing input ones, we will be basically handling that thing at the end. First, this submatrix will be handled. Now, how to know that the first row or first column had any 0 or 1? So what I will do over here, I will keep two Boolean variables. Okay, I will keep two Boolean variables, and let's say the name is first row and first column. They will be initially having value false. Okay. So they will be having initially value as false. So first iteration I will do over the first row and first column. So I'll iterate over this entire first row and I will check, do I have any input 1 or not? Okay, so the pen tab which I'm using U on pen tab. So the first row basically over here, I will iterate over the first row and I'll check whether it is true or false. Okay, so I can see, I'll check whether it contains any 1 or not. I can see it contains a 1. So I'll convert this into true. I'll change this value to true. Now I will iterate over the first column. Check, does it contain any 1? Right? So yes, it contains. So I'll change it into true. Okay, so now the next iteration. Now I will again work on the sub matrix, just like solving the question. So let me just create it somewhere so that we don't impact the input test case. Okay, so 1 0 0. Okay, now I will iterate over this part. Okay, and do the entire change. So again, this is 1, so I'll change it into 1. I'll change this into 1. This is 0, so ignore it. This is 1, so I'll change it into 1. I will change, this is already 1, and this is 0, so ignore it. Now again, a new iteration over the sub matrix. I'll start from 1, 1, right? So this is 1, so this is 0. I need to convert this 0, so I'll check the particular row and particular column. It is 1, so I'll convert this into 1. This is 1. So this will also get changed into 1. And this is my matrix. Okay, now I will check what are the Boolean values over here. Okay, now I will check the first row and first column. So what does your first row say? It says 2, so I will iterate over the entire row and convert this entire row into 1. So this is already 1, this is already 1, this is converted into 1. Now again check the first column. It is true or false? It is true. So iterate over the first column. It is already 1, it is already 1, it is already 1. And now here is your final matrix. This is the correct answer. Okay. Yes, Pallavi, I'll share the link again. So it is called Boolean matrix. Is it clear to everyone? Yes or no? Can I get a confirmation so that is this approach clear to everyone? Yes, exactly. It will work for matrix of any dimension. Yes. Also, the question is for a matrix of size R comma C, R cross C, right? Okay, so what about the time and space complexity of it? So if I talk about the time complexity, first iteration is basically for this first row and first column, right? So it will take around n plus n time. I am taking that number of row is equal to number of column to make the time and space complexity easier to understand, okay? Then I will be iterating over the entire submatrix, right? And how many times I am iterating this submatrix? Twice. This is basically, I'll take this as n, okay? The submatrix, I'll also take it as n. So the entire submatrix, this will be around 2n cross n, or I can say 2n square time you are iterating. Okay, so this is n plus n plus 2n square plus what? Plus for this first row and first column. Let's say both of them are true. So again, you will do a work of n plus n. And if I write down, this will be 2n plus 2n square plus 2n. This is 4n plus 2n square. And now if I want to convert this into big O notation, what are the rules for big O notation again? So least significant terms, you remove the least significant terms and you get rid of what? The constant. So the time complexity comes out to be order of n square. And what about the space complexity? Constant. So did we optimize or not? The previous approach. This was the previous approach. And currently, what is our space? Order of 1. What is our time? Order of n square. And this is our approach number 2. This was approach number 1. For matrix of higher dimension, how will the submatrix be formed? So that submatrix part will not be included. Higher dimension, can you give an idea about what kind of dimensions you are talking about? Maybe, okay, so 4 cross 4. So for that as well, let's say this is your 4 cross 4. So you will focus on this part. This is your submatrix. This part. You will start from 1 comma 1. The cell number is 1 comma 1. This cell. Okay. So let's quickly implement this approach and let's get the solution done. So if you are attending the classes from the first day, I gave you an idea about a question. I discussed a question that was find the smallest missing positive number. Do you guys remember that question? Smallest missing positive number. If you guys remember that question, then at that time also I talked about a technique that is called bucketing technique, right? So whenever you try to optimize anything, whenever you try to optimize something, especially if you talk about the space complexity, and you are not using anything extra but some Boolean variables just to mark true or false, just to mark the presence, right? Just to mark the presence. Or at that time, yes, should be. In that we had some of you gave an idea about XOR approach as well, right? So at that time also I used this bucketing technique that a particular cell is storing two kind of data, right? That particular cell is storing two kind of data. Here also, this first row is responsible for managing the values in the submatrix. So the same bucketing technique has been utilized over here. Okay. So space optimization, whenever it comes into picture and whenever you are using Boolean variables, somehow bucketing technique can be used. So let's quickly write down the solution of it. So what I will do, so uh, first row and first column. Okay. So let's say from interview point of view, Here we are directly writing down our answer, our solution inside this method, right? So from now onwards, whenever you write down the solution, no, have a look at the driver code as well. See how neat and clean the driver code is. Although it is very lengthy, because I am writing down in Java and it has got very lengthy so-called syntaxes. But if you observe on the name which has been used over here. So if I talk about, let's say, the word matrix, basically it is storing the matrix. So it does not make much sense, but if I talk about the solution class, so whatever solution you will be writing, it is present inside a class. And whatever method is basically holding the algorithm, it is called Boolean matrix. So you can give a very nice name to it as well. So here it has been given as Boolean matrix, the name itself of the question. But let's say it might have been something else. So try to give the name of method very sensible. Okay. So let's start. First of all, I'll target the first row and first column. So I'll create a Boolean first row equals to false, and let's say Boolean first column equals to false. Okay, now I will iterate over the first row and first column. Let's say what I will do, matrix dot length. So this gives me an idea about total number of rows present. So this will, I will be iterating over the first column. Okay, first column. So if I see matrix of I, and let's say so matrix dot length, see, let me just change the name so you guys can get an idea. Integer row is equal to matrix dot, and integer column is equal to matrix of 0 length. Okay, so this gives me row and column number. So now I'm iterating over first column. So first column is vertical, right? So how many times should I iterate? I should iterate row number of times for the first column, right? And what is the variable that will remain constant? So the variable is the column number that will be remaining constant, right? So if any element contains 1, so what I will do, I will convert the first column into true, and I will just break out of the loop. Okay, and I will add a bracket over here as well. Now that's it. First row. So I will iterate for int I equals to 0 and I is less than column I plus plus. Why column? Because column number of elements will be there. If matrix, and what will remain constant? Row number will remain constant, column will be changing. And now I will convert first row into true, and I will just break out of the for loop. Okay. Now what was the second thing? So changing the values in the sub matrix. Okay, changing the values in the sub matrix. So how do we change the values in the sub matrix? Okay, so can we approach to save the can we use the approach to save indices I comma j into sets? Yes, if you try to store I comma j into set, you can basically get an idea about the set. But inside the set, you are storing a pair, right? So in the interview, the interviewer can ask you like, how will the chaining process work? Or let's say how will uh, how will you handle the for whatever cell I comma j we have encounter I. Then we iterate over the indices and update the matrix. So over here, if you iterate over the entire set, no, let's say all the cells are 1. Okay, so that would be set will be containing n cross n values. Same as the set matrix in matrix 0. Yes, yes, exactly. It can be a different question, 0 to 1 or 1 to 0, anything. Now let's say changing the values in the submatrix. So what I will do, first iteration, I will start from I is equal to 1, I is less than row, I plus plus. Okay, now I'll start the iteration j equals to 1, j is lesser than column, and and J plus plus. So what I am doing over here, I'm iterating over the submatrix. Now if I see if matrix of I comma j equals to 1, for same row, in two different sets. So how will you map the values, no? I comma j, how will you know, Mitesh? If you have two different sets containing I and containing j, how will you know which is with what is the pair over there? Okay, so let me just complete the code. So if matrix of I comma j equals to 1, so I have found a 1. So what I will do over here? So I will go to the matrix of what? I'll go to that particular element. So let's say I have found I comma j, this is 1. So what I'll do, I'll go to the column, 0th column and ith position. I comma 0, I'll convert this into 1. Similarly, I'll go to what? I'll go to 0th row and jth position, I'll convert this into 1. Okay. In the first column, I'll make ith position 1. In the first row, I'll make the jth position 1. Okay. So this is changing the values and now converting the submatrix. Matrix 0 to 1. So I'll iterate I is lesser than row I plus plus and j equals to 1, j is lesser than column j plus plus. Okay. Now if I see for matrix of, let's say, 0, that is 0th row and jth Yeah, I had a power cut, but uh, am I audible now? Okay, yeah, I'm live again. Just let me know. Okay, fine. Okay, so yeah, I am back again. I'm extremely sorry for the unstable internet connection. Yeah, and I plus plus. So let me just quickly complete this thing. Okay, so for input ones in the first row and first column. Okay, so first of all, I'm going for the first row. So for the first row, I'll have column number of elements, and what I will do if it contains, I'll convert this matrix of, I will be having, this is my column first, this is my first row. So I'll be having in this manner 0, comma I. I'll be converting this into 1. Now again, for integer I equals to 0, I is lesser than row, and this is my first column, and let's say this is I plus plus. So matrix of I comma 0. This is for what? First column. Okay, so we, this is for first row. Hmm. Yeah, it is correct only. Okay, and that's it. Let's try to compile and see. So it is giving correct output for the first. And let's try to submit and see. And the problem was successfully submitted. So was this approach clear to everyone? Can I get a yes or no in the chat box? Okay. So this kind of questions you can expect in an interview of Google. Okay. They will not directly give you a question that's very easy. If you finally reach to a solution that might seem to be a very optimal approach, they might have something extra in their mind. They want space optimization over it. Yes, it is in Java. If you want the solution in other languages, I can convert this into C++ as well. So I'll just let me give you an idea about the solution in other language. And by the way, it's very like easy for converting the code in Java into C++. So matrix dot size, I guess. This is size variable, and this is bool. Okay, bool and row, and okay. Let's try to run and see. Can we take a solution in another language later if there is nothing? Can we take solution in another language later if there is nothing specific? Yes, it is not. There is nothing specific, language specific over here. So I don't code in Java, in C++. So can I get an idea what is the variable over here that you use to convert the, if you want to find the size, what is the syntax? It is a method. Okay. Okay, so this is our C++ solution. Okay. And I can do it in Python as well. Do you guys need a solution in Python? Because I see nothing to be very much language specific. Is there anyone from Python background and they are facing any difficulty? Okay. So today we were able to discuss like the insights of Google interview, right? And we were able to solve one question. And in tomorrow's lecture, we'll be solving other important questions and other trickier questions that were asked in Google interview. Okay, so if you guys, whoever is watching us, whoever is watching our class on YouTube, if you guys find this session to be interesting, then do share your comments in the comment section, and the students of our class, you can also watch in on like give a like on the YouTube channel as well, right? So any question anyone has any then to ask. Can I yes, will be yeah. Today is my first class. Should I log my attendance anywhere? Regarding the attendance part, I am not sure how that is managed for you guys. So it would be better. Yes, so do list down if this attendance is not reflected. Can we do it in order of n? See, the questions that are basically matrix type of questions, it's a little bit difficult until and unless that question does not require you to work on the entire matrix. You cannot do it in order of n because every cell needs to be visited at least, right? So you guys can if you have any kind of questions or anything, you can connect me over LinkedIn, and I am like nowadays I'm pretty much active over LinkedIn, so you can connect me over LinkedIn. And this is my LinkedIn over here. Okay. Okay, so we will be meeting tomorrow with another interesting question. So till then, do practice some questions. Okay, and have a look at this question as well and try to solve it on your own. Okay, and try to read the articles. Try to read the articles for which I have shared a link with all of you. Okay, so for your upcoming interviews, this is going to be helpful. And regarding the okay, so the ending, do you solve a question at any specific time apart from GFG session to practice together? So roam around GFG platform to solve questions. Kushagra.
Sorry, Jay, the internet was gone from my end. May you please repeat? I was not able to hear what you said.
So yeah, sometimes I do roam around the questions, and sometimes I do solve problem of the day.
Okay. So actually, I was
Can you
thinking
tell
like
the
maybe
topic of
together we can
tomorrow's
connect at
question
a
if
particular.
possible? Yeah, for connecting with me, I would suggest first, like you guys can connect me with LinkedIn, and yeah, I will, whatever thing you want to ask me, we can discuss it over there. Topic of tomorrow's question, if possible. So, list of the topics. Let me just share the links again. Right, so यही कोई क्वेश्चन में से मैं मतलब यही टॉपिक में से कोई क्वेश्चन आएगा तो आप थोड़ा बहुत एक बार रिफर कर लें। एक मिनट शेयर करता हूँ आपके साथ। सो इसमें जो भी whatever topics have been mentioned, no, just once revise it. Okay, just graph. If you are like looking at graph, I will not go till DP if possible, but see, like, is everyone comfortable in DP? अगर सबने कर रखा होगा तो हम वो टॉपिक्स कवर कर सकते हैं, बट वी वांट कि सबको थोड़ा एक लेवल पे आए, क्वेश्चंस कवर करें, सो दैट एवरीवन स्टेज ऑन द सेम। आई एम एक्सट्रीमली सॉरी, आज पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है अभी। हाँ, दोज ऑफ यू आर फ्रॉम दिल्ली, आज लगता है कि थोड़ा बारिश होगा, राइट? व्हाट आर यू गाइस सीइंग ऑन स्क्रीन? देयर वाज लाइक connection issue from my end. Okay, थोड़ा अभी अनस्टेबल है, so we'll end the session here only, everyone, guys. So thank you everyone for joining, and we will be meeting tomorrow with some exciting questions. Okay, so sir, you please polish recursion before coming to DP. ठीक है, हम डीपी तक नहीं जाएंगे क्योंकि डीपी अभी सबने कवर ना करा, मतलब इट्स पॉसिबल सबने नहीं करा होगा डीपी, राइट? तो विल नॉट गो टिल डीपी, सो स्टैक्स करके आना और बाइनरी सर्च ट्रीज एंड बाइनरी ट्रीज करके आना, तो उसी के अराउंड हम क्वेश्चंस करेंगे, ठीक है? क्योंकि डीपी में हो सकता है काफी लोग अभी नए हो, राइट? एंड इट इज पॉसिबल कि, और आई विल ट्राई कि हम कल थोड़े ज्यादा क्वेश्चन कर सकें, राइट? आज हमारा थोड़ा डिस्कशन इंटरव्यू में क्या होता है उसके अराउंड रह गया था। यस देशना, एग्जैक्टली, सबका मैं रिक्वेस्ट ऐसा, एवरीवन यू कैन कनेक्ट मी ऑन लिंक्डइन, ठीक है? तो मैं आपके साथ रहूँगा टुमारोज टाइमिंग। सो आई एम नॉट श्योर अबाउट कि टुमारो ये सेशन यूट्यूब पे आएगा कि नहीं आएगा, राइट? सो ये हमारे कोर्सेज का एक पार्ट है। तो और गूगल के कोडिंग इंटरव्यूज थे, तो बेसिकली स्टूडेंट्स को भी इंटरेस्ट होता है, काफ़ी स्टूडेंट्स को, सो ये हमने प्रैक्टिस चैनल पे लाइव कर दिया था। ओके, सो हम एंड करते हैं, मेरी और एक क्लास है, सो कल अगर कुछ डिस्कस करना हो हम कल डिस्कस कर लेंगे। विच कोर्स? सो इट इज DSA to development, so let me just share the link of that course. सो दिस इज द कोर्स जिसका ये अभी हम पार्ट है। ओके, ओके, यस कौशिक, मैं आपसे कनेक्ट कर लूंगा, सबसे कनेक्ट कर लूंगा। ओके, सो हम एंड करते इस सेशन को, मेरी और भी एक क्लास है। थैंक यू थैंक यू फॉर ज्वाइनिंग एंड बाय बाय, टेक केयर एंड कीप ऑन प्रैक्टिसिंग। एंड जो भी मैंने पॉइंट्स बताए उसको एक बार, अगर आपका कोई भी वीक पॉइंट है तो उसको एक बार ब्रश अप कर लेना, एंड श्योरली दिस इज गोइंग टू हेल्प यू इन योर अपकमिंग इंटरव्यूज। ओके, सो या, बाय बाय एवरीवन, बाय।